$200,000. My voice echoes through Thomas's architectural studio as I tape another bank statement to the wall. My family sits around the conference table, stunned into silence for perhaps the first time in our shared history. The wall behind me has become a monument to a decade of financial and emotional abuse, transfer receipts, desperate text messages, broken promises, all meticulously arranged like architectural blueprints. That's how much I've given you over the past 10 years. My mother, Margaret, who taught high school English for 40 years and regularly quotes Bible verses about family duty, stares at me as if I've suddenly started speaking in tongues. Elizabeth, she whispers, her hand fluttering to her throat in practiced distress. Why would you keep spreadsheets about family? I almost laugh. After everything, that's what horrifies her, and not the evidence of how they've drained me dry, but that I had the audacity to document it. Because I'm not your ATM anymore. I tape up one final piece of evidence, a text message from my sister Patricia sent the night of my engagement party. Now that she's landed a rich architect, tapping her will be so much easier. How did I get here? When did I become strong enough to finally say no? It started 3 months ago, on my 48th birthday, when I finally recognized the fairy tales I'd been telling myself about family were just that, fairy tales. Birthday night, 3 months earlier. The phone won't stop ringing. I stand at the window of my downtown condominium, staring at the city lights while my mother's voice streams through the speaker. Lizzie, sweetie, Robert wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I'm Elizabeth Liz Anderson, 48 today. Senior financial consultant at Mercer Global. The reliable one. The successful one. The one they call when the walls are closing in. The phone screen shows my depleted savings account. Tonight's cruel birthday gift to myself is checking the exact figure. Mom, I covered his rent last month, I say, massaging my temple, and his car payment the month before. But this is different, my mother insists. He's in real trouble this time. I gaze longingly at the camera equipment laid out on my dining table, my birthday present to myself. Photography is my escape, the only thing that's truly mine. I'd planned to spend tonight organizing a weekend trip to capture the fall colors upstate. It's always different, Mom. It's always an emergency. The worst part? Earlier tonight, I sat through our traditional family dinner, watching them all laugh at Patricia's jokes. My sister has always had a talent for making everything sound light, even when she's twisting the knife. Poor Lizzie, she'd said, raising her wine glass with a practiced smile. All work and no play. At least your bank account keeps you warm at night. Everyone had laughed, even Sarah, my youngest sister, who usually stays out of it. I'd force a smile, like always, and excuse myself to use the bathroom. On my way back, I'd overheard them in the dining room. The family cash machine, Patricia had whispered, followed by more laughter. Thank God she's too lonely to spend it on anything else. My mother's voice pulls me back to the present. It's just 9,000 this time. Robert says this Victor person isn't very patient. As if on cue, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Tell your brother he's got 48 hours. Mom, I have to go. I hang up before she can protest and slide down against the kitchen cabinet until I'm sitting on the cold tile floor. My phone buzzes again, Robert this time. Sis, please. I know I messed up, but this guy Victor, he's not like the others. He's talking about breaking things. Important things. Like bones. I close my eyes and count to 10, a technique from my therapist that I abandoned years ago because it never actually helped. When I open them, there's a text from Patricia. Stop being dramatic and help him. What else are you saving for anyway? What am I saving for? Maybe a life? Maybe a future? Maybe the dream of not being everyone's emergency fund? My phone rings again, my father this time. William Anderson only calls when he wants to remind me about family duty, a rich irony from a man who lost his banking job due to downsizing 20 years ago and has medicated his lost pride with bourbon ever since. Elizabeth, his voice carries that gruff authority he still thinks he commands. Your mother's crying. Is that what you want? Dad, family takes care of family. You know this. I do know this. I've known it since I was 12 and started saving my allowance to buy Sarah's school supplies because Dad was between jobs. I've known it every time Patricia needed help with rent, every time Robert got in too deep, every time Mom's credit cards maxed out. The doorbell rings, making me jump. Through the peephole, I see Robert disheveled, desperate, his eyes red, hands shaking as he rings again. Lizzie, please. He calls through the door. I can hear you in there. Just, just help me figure this out. I stand perfectly still, barely breathing. On my phone, the banking app is still open, showing my savings account. 20 years of being the responsible one, of living below my means, of saying no to vacations and new clothes and any kind of life outside of work. Also, I could be there when they needed me. The doorbell rings again and again. My phone lights up with a final text from Victor. Time's running out. Hope your brother's got a good sister. I slide down the wall again, my chest tight with an emotion I can't quite name. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's grief, maybe it's the realization that I've spent my entire adult life being used. Tomorrow, I'll probably give in. I'll transfer the money, listen to their thanks, watch them forget about it by next Sunday's dinner. But right now, sitting here in my dark apartment while my brother rings the doorbell and my phone lights up with desperate pleas, I make myself a promise. This will be the last time. I've made this promise before, of course, but something feels different tonight. Maybe it's the echo of Patricia's words, family cash machine, or maybe it's just that I'm finally tired enough to mean it. The doorbell stops ringing. In the sudden silence, I can hear Robert's footsteps retreating down the hallway. My phone buzzes one final time, a reminder about tomorrow's meeting with a potential client. Life goes on. At least it does for everyone else. Chance encounter is 6 weeks later. I'm standing in the grand ballroom of the Westmont Hotel, pretending to be interested in donor statistics for the Riverside Retirement Community Project. My company has assigned me as financial advisor for this charitable initiative, good publicity and tax benefits wrapped in social responsibility. You look like you're contemplating an elegant escape. The voice comes from behind me, deep and warm with a hint of humor. I turn to find a tall man in his early 50s, silver threading his dark hair at the temples, kind eyes crinkling at the corners. His name tag reads Thomas Wilson, Wilson Sustainable Architecture. That obvious? I ask, managing a small smile. Only to fellow sufferers. I'm Thomas. Care to stage a quiet rebellion over by the mediocre hors d'oeuvres table? Thomas tells me about his work designing sustainable buildings, including this retirement community. He listens in a way that makes me feel heard, really heard for the first time in years. So, Elizabeth, he says after I've shared my role in the project, what brings a senior financial consultant to volunteer for a charity event? Usually they send the younger associates to these things. I requested it, I admit. I wanted something meaningful. And honestly, I'm hiding from my phone. That breakup? He laughs. That family. They're complicated. Aren't they all? He pauses, studying me with genuine interest. There's this Italian place around the corner. Antica Famiglia. Their risotto could make you forget any family drama. What do you say? I should say no. I have 3 missed calls from Robert and a text from Mom about urgent family matters. But Thomas's smile is genuine, and for once, I want something for myself. Lead the way. The restaurant is small and warm with red checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. Thomas orders wine and talks about his sister, Stacy, who sounds refreshingly normal. She's actually having a dinner party this weekend, he says. Would you like to come? My phone buzzes. Patricia, Mom's crying because you won't answer. Hope you're proud of yourself. I turn my phone face down. I'd love to. Flashback my first no. I was 32 when my first marriage ended. Jeffrey had seemed perfect, charming, ambitious, from a good family. 2 years in, I discovered he'd been using our joint account to fund a gambling habit that rivaled my brother's. When I confronted him, he became a stranger before my eyes. It's my money too, he'd said coldly. Our future savings, I counted. Our retirement, he'd laughed then. The sound still haunts me. What's the point of saving when life is now? I'd filed for divorce the next day, my mother begging me to reconsider. Marriage is forever, Elizabeth. You took vows. But I'd found my voice, at least temporarily. He broke his vows when he broke our trust. It was the first time I'd said no to family expectations. It wouldn't be the last, but it would take me another 16 years to say it again with the same conviction. Present day, the relationship, as weeks turn into months, Thomas becomes my sanctuary. We spend weekends exploring architectural landmarks, taking photographs. He appreciates my amateur eye, and talking about everything and nothing. He tells me about losing his father as a teenager, about raising his son alone after his amicable divorce 10 years ago, about building his architectural firm from scratch with a focus on sustainability. I tell him about my work, my dreams of traveling to capture landscapes through my lens, my love of financial structures that make sense in a way that people often don't. But I don't tell him about the money, about being the family ATM, about the growing stack of urgent texts I've been ignoring. 6 months after we meet, Thomas takes me to dinner at Antica Famiglia again. Move in with me, he says, reaching for my hand across the table. My place is closer to your office, and I hate waking up without you. My phone vibrates in my purse. Mom again. Robert needs $9,000 by Friday or he's in serious trouble. This is urgent, Elizabeth. I look at Thomas kind, successful, drama-free Thomas and feel shame burn in my chest. He deserves to know what he's getting into. There's something I need to tell you first. I start, but he cuts me off. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. That's what partners do. Partners. The word makes my throat tight. I need you to know that my family is complicated. He reaches across the table, takes my hand. Elizabeth, I love you, complicated family and all. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Sarah. Lizzie, please. He really messed up this time. Thomas squeezes my hand. Everything okay? I should tell him about the money, the manipulation, the endless demands, about how my savings account is a fraction of what it should be because I can't say no to them. Instead, I squeeze back and say, everything's perfect. The engagement party. Thomas proposes on a crisp autumn morning by the lake at his weekend home, down on one knee with a vintage ring that belonged to his grandmother. It's perfect, simple, sincere, just like him. I say yes through tears, finally believing I deserve this happiness. We should tell your family, he says later as we're driving back to the city. Have them over for dinner. My stomach tightens, but I nod. They'll want to celebrate. They arrive at Thomas's spacious townhouse that evening in unusually high spirits. Even Patricia is beaming, pulling me into a tight hug. Look at you, she gushes, examining my ring, finally joining the grown-up world. Mom can't stop crying, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. My baby girl getting married to such a successful man. I catch the emphasis on successful, but force a smile. Thomas is in the kitchen preparing his signature lasagna while I pour wine and try to keep the conversation light. You're glowing, Lizzie, Patricia says, touching my cheek. Marriage suits you already. And Thomas, well, you certainly picked a winner. Sarah nods enthusiastically. His place is gorgeous. You're so lucky, sis. The evening flows surprisingly well. No one mentions money or Robert's troubles. Even Dad, who showed up late, seems genuinely happy for me. During dessert, my phone rings. It's work, sorry, I say standing. I have to take this. I step into the hallway, leaving everyone chatting over tiramisu. The call is quick, just a minor issue, but as I'm heading back, I hear voices from the dining room. I pause, an old habit from years of eavesdropping to gauge my family's true feelings. It's about time she landed someone wealthy, Patricia is saying, her voice low but clear. God knows she's been hoarding her money long enough. Shh, Mom whispers, but she's laughing. Though you're right, maybe now she'll stop being so stingy with family. Please, Patricia snorts. Now that she's got a rich fiancé, tapping her will be so much easier. Thomas seems like the type who'd want to help family. We should wait though, Mom adds. Let them get married first. Then we can bring up Robert's situation. I feel sick. My hands are shaking, and I want to burst in to confront them, but then I hear movement. Thomas appears in the hallway, his face unreadable. How long has he been standing there? Our eyes meet. He heard everything. I open my mouth, but he shakes his head slightly and walks past me back to the dining room. His voice is perfectly normal as he offers everyone coffee, but I can feel the shift in him. The rest of the evening passes in a blur. My family leaves with hugs and kisses, Mom already talking about wedding venues and guest lists. Patricia squeezes my arm and whispers, "We'll go dress shopping soon, little sister." Flashback, the pattern begins. When I was 12, my father lost his job at the bank. He'd been there 15 years, had expected to retire there. The downsizing came without warning, and our comfortable middle-class life began to crumble. Dad retreated into himself, spending days staring at the newspaper's job listings and evenings nursing a bottle of bourbon. Mom took on substitute teaching job, but it wasn't enough. Bills piled up. Arguments became the family soundtrack. One night, I heard Sarah crying in our shared bedroom. She needed new shoes for school, her old ones had holes, but Mom had said they couldn't afford them. The next day, I took the money I'd been saving for a camera, my first, walked to the department store, and bought my sister the shoes she needed. The look on her face when I gave them to her, that pure relief and joy, that was the beginning of my role in the family. "You're such a good big sister," Mom had said, hugging me tight. "What would we do without you?" I didn't know then that I'd spend the next 36 years answering that question. The confrontation. After my family leaves the engagement party, Thomas and I clean up in silence. I'm waiting for him to speak, to ask questions, to judge me. Instead, he just loads the dishwasher, his movements mechanical. Finally, I can't take it anymore. "Thomas, how long?" He asks quietly, not looking at me. "How long have they been using you like this?" I should have told you. "Yes," he turns, and his eyes are sad. "You should have." I was ashamed. I whisper. "I didn't want you to see, to know." "To know what?" "That your family treats you like an ATM? That they're already planning how to use our marriage for money?" Tears spill down my cheeks. "I'm sorry." He crosses the kitchen and pulls me into his arms. "Don't apologize. You're not the one who should be sorry. I thought tonight would be different," I say into his chest. "They seemed so happy." "They were happy," he says grimly. "Happy about what they think they can get from us." I pull back, wiping my eyes. "What do we do?" "First, you tell me everything. No more secrets, Elizabeth. If we're getting married, I need to know what I'm walking into." So I tell him everything. About Dad's job loss that started it all. About Mom's emotional manipulation. About Patricia's jealousy masked as concern. About Robert's gambling debts that keep growing. I tell him about the years of bailouts and guilt trips, the sacrificed vacations and retirement savings, the sleepless nights worrying about money that wasn't even mine to spend. When I finish, Thomas is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "You know this has to stop." I know. And for the first time, I really do know. Hearing them plot to use my marriage, to use Thomas, it crosses a line I didn't even know I had. "We'll figure it out together," he says, kissing my forehead. "But Elizabeth, no more enabling, no more sacrificing yourself for people who don't appreciate you." I nod, but my phone's already buzzing with a new message. "Robert, congratulations, sis. Since you're celebrating, any chance you could help me out with a small problem?" I stare at the message, my finger hovering over the reply button. Old habits die hard. The crisis. The call comes at 3 a.m. 1 week after the engagement dinner. My phone vibrates against the nightstand. Mom's name flashing on the screen. "Elizabeth." Her voice is shrill with panic. "You need to come over right now. Victor's here with 2 men. They're threatening Robert." Thomas stirs beside me. "What's wrong?" I'm already pulling on clothes. "My brother's in trouble. Real trouble this time. I'm coming with you." When we arrive at Mom's house, the same middle-class colonial where I grew up, there are 3 men in the living room. Victor looking dangerous in his expensive suit, and 2 others who seem more like bouncers than debt collectors. Robert sits on the couch, head in his hands. Mom's pacing, and Dad, who must have been called too, stands by the window, jaw clenched. Well, Victor says, smiling without warmth. The successful sister arrives. How much? 50,000. The room goes quiet. Even Mom stops pacing. That's impossible, I say. Last month it was 9,000. Interest adds up. Victor shrugs. Plus the new loans. Your brother's been busy. I turn to Robert. New loans? He won't look at me. I thought I could win it back. You have 24 hours, Victor says, checking his watch, or we start breaking things, starting with your brother's fingers. After they leave, the screaming starts. You have to help him. Mom grabs my arm. He's your brother. I don't have that kind of money anymore, I say. I've given him everything. What about Thomas? Dad suggests, speaking for the first time. Surely your fiancé could. Don't. Thomas's voice cuts through the room like ice. Don't even finish that sentence. Patricia appears in the doorway. Someone must have called her too. Elizabeth, don't be selfish. This is family. Selfish? I laugh, and it sounds slightly hysterical. Do you want to know how much money I've given this family? Should I show you the spreadsheet I've been keeping? Spreadsheets? Mom looks horrified, like we're some kind of business transaction. You've made me exactly that. I pull out my phone, open the file I've been maintaining for years. $200,000, Mom. That's how much I've given you all over the past decade. My entire savings, my retirement fund, everything. The room goes silent. But you make good money, Sarah says from her corner. And now with Thomas, stop it. Thomas steps forward. Elizabeth is not your personal bank anymore, and I'm certainly not going to be. We're trying to save your brother's life. Mom shrieks. No, I say quietly. You're trying to save him from consequences again. Robert finally looks up. His eyes are red. Sis, please, they're serious this time. They're always serious, I say. And I'm always there to fix it. But not anymore. Then you're signing his death warrant, Dad says dramatically. No, you all did that every time you enabled him. Every time you called me instead of getting him help. Every time you chose the easy way out. Mom starts crying. Patricia moves to comfort her, shooting me a venomous look. There are other options, Thomas says calmly. Bankruptcy, gambling addiction programs, police protection. Police? Robert jumps up. Are you crazy? These aren't guys you call the cops on. Then I guess you should have thought of that before borrowing from them. My phone buzzes. A text from Victor. Tick-tock. I'm done, I announce, walking toward the door. Figure it out yourselves. Elizabeth, Mom's voice breaks. You can't leave your brother like this. I turn back one last time. Watch me. The aftermath. In the car, my hands are shaking so badly I can't get the key in the ignition. Thomas gently takes them. You did the right thing. Did I? What if they really hurt him? Then that's on him and them, not you. My phone keeps lighting up with messages. Patricia calling me heartless, Mom saying she didn't raise me to be so cruel, Dad invoking family duty, Sarah sending sad face emojis. I turn off my phone. They'll never forgive me for this, I whisper. Thomas starts the car. Maybe that's not a bad thing. As we drive home, I think about all the times I've saved them, all the times I've sacrificed my own future for theirs, all the times they've taken and taken and taken. What happens now? I ask. Now, Thomas takes my hand. Now you start living for yourself. But we both know it won't be that simple because somewhere in the city a clock is ticking down on my brother's debt. And for the first time in his life, his safety net isn't going to catch him. Part of me hopes he falls hard enough to finally learn how to save himself. The rest of me is terrified he won't survive the landing. The evidence wall present day, and so here we are, back in Thomas's architectural studio, where I've spent 3 days gathering evidence, bank statements, transfer records, text messages, emails, every desperate plea, every guilt trip, every manipulation, carefully documented on the wall behind me like an architectural blueprint of abuse. One by one, I go through the evidence, methodically exposing every loan, every manipulation, every broken promise to pay back, just this once. $200,000. I say finally. That's what I've given you. My entire savings, my future, my security. We're family, Mom pleads. Family helps family. No, Mom. Family supports each other. Family builds each other up. Family doesn't treat one member like an ATM while mocking them behind their back. Is that what this is about? Patricia sneers. Your feelings got hurt? This is about consequences. Robert needs rehab, not another bailout. You need to learn to live within your means. And Mom, you need to stop enabling everyone's worst instincts. Please, Robert speaks up, touching the black eye Victor gave him as a warning. They're going to kill me. There are programs, Thomas says. Gambling addiction support groups, debt counseling, witness protection if necessary. We've researched them all. We don't need programs, Dad scoffs. We need you to step up and help your brother. No, the word feels like freedom. We're done. Done? Mom's voice rises. What does that mean? Done. It means I'm cutting you all off. No more money, no more rescues, no more guilt trips. You can't do this. Patricia shouts. We're your family. Not anymore. Mom starts crying. Dad begins lecturing about duty. Patricia screams about betrayal. I let them. Their words have no power anymore. I've transferred all the documentation to a lawyer. I continue calmly. If any of you try to contact me or Thomas for money again, she'll file harassment charges. You'd send your own brother to jail? Sarah asks, finally speaking. No, I'm letting him face the consequences of his actions. There's a difference. You, Patricia spits. You think you're better than us. No, I think I'm done being worse than I am because of you. Robert starts begging. Mom's sobs get louder. Dad quotes scripture about family loyalty. I wait until they run out of steam. I'm sending each of you a final email with resources for financial counseling and addiction support. What you do with it is up to you. But this, I gesture at the room. This is the last time we'll speak. You'll regret this, Mom says, her tears suddenly dry. When you need us, I haven't needed you in years, Mom. I just wanted you there. There's a difference. I end the meeting mid-protest. The silence that follows feels like a thunderclap. Thomas pulls me close as I start shaking. You did it. I did it. My voice breaks. Oh God, I really did it. Epilogue 1 year later. The morning sun glints off the lake as I sit at my desk, fingers hovering over my keyboard. Thomas is still asleep upstairs in our lakeside home, and the house is quiet except for the gentle lapping of waves against our dock. I open a new document and start typing. Dear younger Elizabeth, I'm writing this letter not to send, but to finally set you free. The doorbell interrupts my thoughts. Through the security camera, I see Sarah standing on our porch, looking nervous but determined. I consider not answering, but something in her posture makes me open the door. Before you slam the door, she says quickly, I'm not here as their messenger. I'm here for me. I leave the door open but don't invite her in. Talk. I left them too. She hugs herself, looking small. After seeing what they did to that sweet old lady from our street, I couldn't anymore. Mom tried to convince me to invest my savings in Robert's scheme. That's when I knew you were right all along. Come in, I say finally. Coffee in the kitchen. Sarah tells me everything. How Patricia's been writing angry letters from prison, blaming everyone but herself. How Mom and Dad are living in a cheap motel, still insisting they did nothing wrong. How Robert got 20 years for running a Ponzi scheme that victimized our elderly neighbors. They're talking about appealing to you again, she admits. They think enough time has passed, that maybe you'll. I know. I pour her more coffee. I know that's partly why you're here. She pulls out some papers. I need your help with something, but not money. I'm going back to school, starting over. Would you? Would you be my reference? You're the only successful person I know who got there honestly. I study my younger sister's face. There's something different there, a clarity that wasn't there before. Okay, I say, but first, I need you to read something. I show her my laptop screen, the letter I was writing. Dear younger Elizabeth, I'm sorry I let them dim your light for so long. I'm sorry I taught you that love means emptying yourself to fill others. I'm sorry I made you believe that family obligations were more important than your own dreams. But I'm not sorry anymore. Sarah reads silently, tears rolling down her cheeks. When she finishes, she looks up. Can I add something? I nod. She types. Dear younger Sarah, I'm sorry I watched them drain you dry and said nothing. I'm sorry I was a coward, but I'm learning from your strength. We spend the morning writing letters to our younger selves, letting out years of suppressed truth. When Thomas comes downstairs, he finds us both crying and laughing over coffee. Everything okay? He asks cautiously. Getting there, I say. Sarah stays for lunch. We talk about her plans for school, about healing, about building a life that's truly ours. She's different now, harder in some ways, but clearer, like me. After she leaves, I finish my letter. You'll learn that real love doesn't demand your self-destruction. You'll learn that family isn't about blood or obligation, it's about choice and respect. You'll learn that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. And one day, you'll sit in a beautiful house by a lake with a husband who loves you and a sister who finally understands, and you'll realize you're not just surviving anymore, you're living. Love, the Elizabeth who finally chose herself. I print the letter and add one more thing, my updated will. Thomas and I have discussed this at length. Our future children, if we have them, will inherit most of our estate. The rest goes to a new foundation we're establishing, the Forward Fund, helping people escape financial abuse from family members. Not a penny goes to my parents or older siblings. That's the last piece. I tell Thomas as I sign the documents. No more loose ends. He kisses my forehead. Proud of you. My phone buzzes. A text from Sarah. Thank you for today, for everything, for showing me there's another way. Outside, the lake sparkles in the afternoon sun. I think about Mom and Dad in their motel room, about Patricia in her prison cell, about Robert facing 2 decades behind bars. I think about karma and justice and peace. I close my laptop, take Thomas's hand, and walk out to our dock. The water is calm, reflecting the sky like a mirror. In its surface, I see my reflection, clear-eyed, strong, free. Sometimes revenge isn't about making others hurt. Sometimes it's about making yourself whole. Sometimes it's about writing a new story, one where you're not the victim or the savior or the cash machine, just yourself, finally completely yourself. And that's enough.